but I'm going to watch this. My understanding is it's kind of bad. But it's called Ben Carson, Black Families Better Under Slavery. Now, I'm going to go hot take. I just don't think that Ben Carson said that black people performed better when they were slaves. But let's just get into this.
Ben Carson was at CPAC doing what Ben Carson does best. Let's watch.
Ben Carson, I feel like Ben Carson's a little bit of a struggle when it comes to public speaking, but he's a fucking doctor, right? He's a pretty smart guy.
Well, when you look at what the black community has been through, go all the way back to slavery. It was the family, the strong family units, and the faith in God that got people through that. They got people through Jim Crow, through severe segregation.
I agree.
Through all the difficulties. But what really had a negative impact was when the government came along and said, there, you poor little thing. I'm going to take care of all your needs. And started implementing policies that were destructive to family formation. Those are the things that have hurt the black community the most.
So just to clarify, what Ben Carson is saying is that he's basically saying systemic racism exists, honestly. But he's saying, like, listen, black people have undergone probably the worst atrocities of any other race, aside from maybe indigenous Americans. But the one thing that kept black people together was family. Family, fundamentally, objectively, is like one of the biggest factors for success. Like, why did it take me so long to figure that word out? And so Ben Carson is saying, like, listen, when we implemented our current conditional welfare system, it had a profoundly negative impact on black people. And like, if I was somebody who looked at America and said America seems to hate black people, I could probably construct the conspiracy theory that we expanded welfare into black communities to kill the black family. Now, I don't actually think that, but you could make a reasonable assertion. Because you look at, there's a direct correlation between the expansion of welfare into black communities and black people failing, right? And I'm not saying black people shouldn't have had access to welfare. What I'm saying is our welfare system, it works if you live in a healthy local economy. But if you live in an unhealthy local economy, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. You can't really get a job that will pay you or give you more than doing nothing or working a low-paying job and just not making more, right? Because this is what happens. Welfare there's like 126 different fucking welfare programs. But this is what welfare does. It tells us a couple of things. One, it'll say, like, listen, if you make under a certain amount of money, we'll give you government money. Now, what that triggers in your head is like, okay, I'm not going to make more money to better myself because I either out of laziness or out of fear don't want to lose my welfare or my way of life. It also says, like, hey, if you are a single mother, you'll get more money. So, of course, it advocates for single motherhood. It makes it so people aren't as responsible when it comes to family planning. And it's had a negative impact. And so that's why I think that we need to shift the welfare program. I don't think we need to get rid of welfare. But we need to shift it in a different way. We need to remove the conditionality of it. And I'm a UBI guy. I'm not going to go into the specifics. But, like, at the end of the day, there are negatives to welfare. And I find that to be a trend with Democrats. For them to look at their failed implementation of systems, and when they're exposed for being failures, the response is, no, that can't be a form of systemic oppression. But, like, we talk about systemic oppression, we talk about redlining and slavery, and et cetera, but we never talk about how our welfare system is a form of systemic oppression. It oppresses poor people. It destroys their family units of poor people, and it keeps them conditioned to stay on the government. Like, it makes them brain dead. But, like, we don't talk about that because, Democrats made that, so that can't be a form of oppression, but it is. And that's what Ben Carson's saying. I think most people would agree that, like, do you know anybody? I know people on welfare. My fucking family, I have a family member on welfare. She's lazy. I love her to death. She's a lazy ass. Like, she quit her job so that she'd get more money so she could have a baby. Like, I don't know.
So if he's talking about the policies that were in fact destructive to family formation for the black community, things like discriminatory
a little booger in my nose. or itch.
Criminal laws, right? Discriminatory arrests when it comes to the war on drugs.
I think he's referring to like slavery and segregation more than anything else. But like, yeah, basically. And then he's just saying that like the black family was incredibly powerful and allowed them to move through these atrocities and stay strong. And then once America implemented our welfare system onto black people, it destroyed their families and it made black people weaker.
When it comes to the 1994 crime bill, like all of that stuff.
Redlining.
You know what's interesting about the 1994 crime bill? I don't think that was like, that's like, I wouldn't call that systemic racism more than like oppression. Because like black people supported that as well, especially like black politicians supported that. And like it was one of those things where like we just didn't know what to do, how to like reduce crime. We're fucking dumb back then. So it was like, oh, let's put more criminals in jail. That'll solve the problem. But it kind of doesn't, because then one criminal goes to jail, then another criminal or some person has to step up into that, and it doesn't really fix the reason why people are committing crimes. You know, but I wouldn't say that was like active systemic oppression. I'd say that was just like us being so fucking dumb that we couldn't implement the correct solution, which is like rather than like mass put people in jail for like drugs and for committing crime, which, you know, let's try to fix the problems causing people to commit crimes.
Redlining. I mean, but he's not talking about that.
Well, it kind of is, but
he's talking about the social safety net. He's talking about government programs that help lift people out of poverty. That's what he's talking about.
You know what? One of the biggest problems I have with that mentality is like, or that argument is like, yeah, government programs do. When you generalize government programs, you can make the argument that they do lift some people out of poverty. The problem is that you generalize across two planes. One, that we're talking about all the people in every single different economic, like local economy, like. And then also, when you talk about you overgeneralize all the welfare programs, right? Because there's like 100-something welfare programs. So are we referring to disability that lifts people out of poverty, or are we referring to food stamps, or are we referring to like subsidized income, or are we referring to like whatever, right? But when you look at it, I guarantee you what you'll find is that the poorest of the poor areas aren't lifted out of poverty through welfare. And since black people are disproportionately poor due to systemic racism, who's going to get hit the hardest? You understand what I'm saying? Ben Carson's just saying that like black families are powerful. I don't know how you can contest this, and that like our welfare system is flawed.
He's not talking about a broken criminal justice system. He's not talking about racism in the housing market. He's not talking about any of that, right? I mean, whenever you hear
like honestly, I know I'm pausing a lot, but if you really thought about it, like you'd see spikes in crimes after the expansion of welfare into black communities, because it's one of the reasons why there's no opportunity in communities. I'm just saying, man, it creates a negative culture for anybody on it, and I just feel like it was like a joke science experiment that we played on black people. Like, hey, we're gonna fuck up your community to test our welfare system. Fuck yourself, you know? I don't know.
Wingers talk about, oh, where are the fathers? Where are the fathers? And they're specifically talking about black families. Most of them who aren't with their families have been imprisoned for nonviolent drug offenses.
I kind of feel like that there isn't enough prison space to put away that many black fathers. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I had to guess, I would guess that that 90% of black fathers aren't in jail. It's probably like 1% or something or less. You know what I mean? Like, there's not that many people in jail. So, like, you know, you can't just solely blame everything on jail. I'm not saying that, like, you know, that these particular things aren't bad for like the black family. I'm just saying that, like, you can't just chalk it all up to prisons. Like, you can't just put a single prescription of the problem on there. Like, you know, the prison system is a problem. So is our welfare system. So is our drug system. You know what I'm saying? So is our police system. And when you just decide to like single out the ones that work with your ideology, we're not having an honest conversation. And what ends up happening is black people end up doing worse because of people like her. She's hurting black people by intentionally taking a black man out of context to promote a false narrative and to not actually have honest conversations about how to empower the black community. This woman is hurting black people actively right now. She hates black people. That's the only thing that I could assume. Like, she's tokenizing black issues instead of thinking critically about how to solve actual problems. Like, there are a multitude of problems.
Yeah.
But that's not what he's talking about. That's not what he's talking about. I'm just so, honestly, I'm tired of like wasting my life away.
And I also, like, no offense, I'm not trying to be that guy, but like, you know, it's a little weird that you have a white woman screaming over a black man about black issues. You know? Like, I understand everybody should be able to come to the table and have the conversation, but like, you have a black guy who's, I would assume, has experienced issues of the black community. And then you have a white woman who seems to have grown up just fine, talking about how she knows issues better. But like, if I feel like, you know, it's a common criticism in black communities that like they feel like the government's after them. And if you propose the idea that the federal government expanded welfare into black communities to basically like perform some kind of new age slavery on them, they wouldn't be surprised. And I'm not saying that that's the truth. I'm just saying that like, it wouldn't fucking surprise me if that was the truth. You know what I mean? And we're shitting on this guy for sharing his experience as a black guy. And it's like, fine to disagree, but like, I feel like you could do it in a better way. Like, this is an embarrassing video. This is embarrassing.
Responding to idiots like Ben Carson.
Yeah, but let's not bury the lead. So the family unit was strong during slavery?
It's so stupid. So stupid.
Yeah.
Okay.
The stupid rise to the top in America. Let's just be clear about that.
What the fuck are you talking about?
In case,
Like, yeah, that's what got black people. Like, black people had horrible atrocities committed onto them, and the only thing that got them through it was like an incredibly powerful family. That's not really a hot take, man. Ask any black person that question. They're like, yeah, yes.
in case you don't know, because apparently a lot of right-wingers don't know any history, during slavery, kids would be taken away from their parents, snatched from their arms, and sold off as property.
They'd also be forced to rape each other and make more babies. Like, we know this. That doesn't mean that they don't have strong families.
To other masters. And then those kids, you
Thanks
would
for the history
know,
lesson.
would have to serve those masters their whole lives, and they would be whipped and beaten, and then their kids would be taken from them.
It would probably be good if this guy taught like 4th grade history, because he seems to be okay when it comes to that. But outside of that, doesn't seem to be particularly educated.
And if they were women, God help them.
Family values.
But Ben Carson says the family unit was stronger during slavery and the government ruined it. Now, by the way, who freed the slaves? The government.
Oh. Bro, you know how fucking dumb this argument is? It's like, hey, the government freed black people. By the way, so the government freed black people, so the government's great. First of all, the government enslaved black people before they freed them. So let's not jerk the government off too much. Like, you imagine that? Ben Carson's like, the government is hurting black people with welfare. And they're like, yeah, but the government freed the slaves, idiot. It's like, yeah, the government also made them slaves. Like, could you imagine sucking the cock of a government that literally enslaved black people and be like, yeah, but they freed them? That's like if I hit you in the face with a bat and then I put a Band-Aid on your face. It's like, what the fuck is this idiot talking about? Like, this is so fucking stupid. Who freed the slaves? Oh, the government. Government's perfect. Fucking moron. I couldn't imagine saying these things. Like, can we just acknowledge that this is some of the dumbest fucking vomit that I've ever seen ever? This is horrible. This is terrible.
In fact, we fought a whole war with the South to free the slaves. Hundreds of thousands of Northerners died to free the slaves because the government said so.
Thank you, white man. He's probably not. I'm whiter than him. But like, is that the response? Like, the government enslaved black people in the first place. What? We shouldn't be thanking the government for freeing slaves. It's a progress that the slaves were freed. But like, what the fuck is the point here?
Because Abraham Lincoln said, no, we're not going to let you secede, and we're not going to let you keep people as slaves.
Okay.
That was a government decision. But the South had it all figured out, right? And I mean, they were so great to black families at the time.
Who the fuck's talking about the South?
How can you say that?
Who said that anybody was great to the black families? He's saying that black people were able to overcome horrible atrocities because they're strong people with strong family values. And you're turning it into somehow like, what? I don't even know what your point is anymore.
So this fool, greedy fool, used by the Republicans to attack any program that would help black people in this country.
And that would help anyone.
You know what a program that would help black people in this country? Universal basic income. Remove the conditionality of these welfare programs. Give people their own financial autonomy and their ability to make their own decisions and make mistakes and actually recover from them. Whoa.
in this country.
And Ben Carson.
Don't tell people, hey, have more babies, more money, or be poor and we give you money. Like, how about you give people the actual ability to climb out of their oppressive situations?
God damn it, haven't you made enough money? And you already did the scam where you went on the speaking circuit and you did your book and you.
I don't know what he's talking about now, but I just don't trust
for
anything
the white
he's saying.
man. And you got paid handsomely for it.
This is the guy that just said that we should be thankful for our government for freeing slaves when they were the ones that enslaved them. And now he's basically calling Ben Carson, excuse my language, he's calling him a coon. And I'm sorry for using that language, but it needs to be said because that's what he's doing. Like, do we not see how absolutely fucking racist that this is? Dancing for the white man. Dude, what the fuck's the problem with this guy? This guy's a piece of shit. I don't understand. What the fuck is happening right now?
You know that he was a really accomplished doctor and a great student. He made up a story about how he used to be violent and tried to stab his friend with a knife, but it got stuck on his belt buckle.
What the fuck is happening right now?
Jesus saved him, and that he didn't know anything. He was a fool, a savage and a fool. And at night, an angel taught him chemistry, and that's why he got an A on his test. No, you got an A on your test, Ben,
what is happening
because you studied really hard, and you know that.
What the fuck is happening right now?
Instead, you told white right-wingers what they wanted to hear, that the black man is a savage and that the government is what's taking his family away.
Wait, what the fuck's happening, bro? Where did we go? What did I miss?
Slavery wasn't so bad. You had good Christianity and family.
That's not what he said at all. He was just saying black people have strong families. I don't understand.
And the government ruined it. In all their ways, and a black man being smart.
Could you imagine discounting the idea that the government would hurt black people? Like, imagine seeing that systemic racism exists, and then giving somebody shit for saying that the government performs systemic oppression on the black people. It doesn't really make any sense. Like, it doesn't make any sense. This guy isn't even being logically or morally consistent in anything that he's saying. Is it so surprising that the government would implement a policy that would hurt black people? I don't understand. It's constantly happening, whether it's intentional or unintentional. Like, God forbid another one of those systems might be flawed in hurting black people. No. But like, just the critical thought, its brain is fucking steaming, coming up with anything like intelligent in any capacity.
Oh, they don't want to hear that story. So you told them a story about how you were an idiot, didn't know anything, didn't study at all, but learned chemistry magically through an angel. And you told them that fairy tale they wanted to hear about their religion, right? Now, this is a more uncomfortable fact, but how was Christianity used during slavery?
What are we talking about?
To placate the slaves so they wouldn't revolt. Don't worry. Of course, your life is miserable now, but you're gonna have everything up in heaven. Right. By the way, conveniently,
maybe that's true. It just has nothing to do with what Ben Carson said.
After slavery, now they've flipped it on its head. No, now we have prosperity preachers, and you have to give me all your money for my private jets because Jesus is in favor of the really rich.
Are we talking about Joel Osteen now? What is happening?
Wait, I thought he was in favor of the poor when we had slavery. Now, conveniently, it's been flipped now, right? And I don't disagree that people's faith got them through a lot of tough times, including Jim Crow and including slavery.
Oh, so you just emphatically agree with Ben Carson here?
Times and certainly all through all the discrimination. I'm not trying to argue against their faith, but was it used during slavery to placate people? Of course it was. That's just a fact, right? And were they Christians when they came? No, they weren't, right? And that was the only thing taught to them.
Okay.
And I went and visited when I was in Charleston, a plantation and a slave market. It is, if you've never done that, you should. It's jarring. It's jarring how they would prepare humans as products. They would shine them up and they would feed them after a long trek from wherever they got captured or bought. And then they would feed them only for a couple of days right before the auction so they could sell their products better. But Ben Carson tells you, oh, no, families were in great shape. African-American families were in great shape during slavery.
I don't think that's what Ben Carson said. He didn't say that they were in great shape or being treated well. He said that the strength of their family and the bond got them through horrible times.
Because he's going to get paid a little bit more from the racist who buy his books, who pay for his speeches. Was it worth it, Ben? You were a doctor. You were a successful doctor. Was it worth it to betray your people, everything that is right in the world?
Yeah, in a system that preaches the wonders of individualism, yeah, it was worth it. It was worth it for him, which is why he continues to do it. And I want everyone to be clear.
What's wrong? Wait, what's happening here? So now individualism is like bad? Thanks for the rate, Curly. I appreciate it.
Curly Daddy 101 is now hosting my stream with 43 viewers.
I don't understand. So now individualism is a bad thing. Like I understand like the need for like social programs. But like why is individualism being attacked now? I'm so confused. Like this went from like strawmanning the fuck out of Ben Carson's argument to just like pushing like whatever political ideology that they have of, I'm assuming, some kind of like socialism or communism like that removes individuality. Like what the fuck's happening
here about the overwhelming messaging coming out of CPAC this year, and every year for that matter, okay? Because some so-called leftists would have you believe we could work with the Republican Party, we could work with right-wingers.
Sure.
We can find common ground.
Probably, yeah. UBI has been pretty common ground when I talk to my conservative friends.
On fighting the elites and actually accomplish policy together.
Yeah.
They are not interested in changing the inequality in this country and reversing this rigged economic system that has kept working people down for decades now. They're not interested in that. That messaging from Ben Carson was specifically about doing away with whatever we have left of our social safety net, which is laughable when you compare us to other developed countries. And I'm curious, what is the family unit like? What is the nuclear family unit like in social democracies, like in Scandinavian countries? I would argue
they're probably pretty strong, yeah, because they don't have welfare programs that advocate for them to not be with their family.
That if you're living in a system where your basic needs,
like, let's just keep in mind that this guy's she's basically saying that like people don't need two parents. Like that's her whole argument. Like she doesn't want to say that because she knows when she says it, she sounds like a fucking moron. But she's basically saying like, who needs two parents? Everybody needs two parents. It doesn't even matter, two boys, two girls, men, women, non-binary. You just need two parents. I'd argue a masculine and a feminine figure parent.
Needs are met. It's going to lead to a lot less conflict in the household. A lot less stress about where you're gonna get your next meal or how you're gonna find enough money to pay your rent next month. Okay. I don't know, maybe I'm crazy, right? But all of these goons would have you believe with their disgusting propaganda that all of our problems—
That's ironic because this is quite literally propaganda—
are not a result of this rigged economic system and this inequality. They want you to think it's the meager social safety net we have left. That's the real problem.
Why is it so hard to believe that our current social safety nets are part of the issue? Like why? I don't understand. Like it blows my mind that like it's one or the other. It can't be both in some capacity. It just doesn't make any sense. This woman just is not particularly intelligent. This is the problem when like you don't think critically about like the things that you align with. Like you just support like, oh, Democrats support welfare. Welfare must be good. It's like, no, that's dumb. Like welfare in and of itself is necessary, but like our current welfare system, I just think it's fundamentally flawed.
Let's do away with it so the wealthy can get more tax cuts. It's garbage. Anyone who—
I mean, not for nothing, but like, I don't even agree with this, but the mentality of conservatives is to get rid of welfare and then to cut taxes for like middle-class people. It's not to give money to rich people. I just feel like you should at least be educated on like that very basic ideology.
Purports to be on the left who buys that there's any real economic populism on the right. Please wake up. Wake up, stop being an idiot. Wake up!
This is terrible.
I'm super happy to take the economic populism when I see it, but that all I see is them trying to lure the left with their social policies, their cultural—
This is like pearl clutching. I'm so offended. I'm like, dude, chill out.
Policies which are grotesque. Last thing on this. So why does he talk about the family unit and make such an outrageous claim about the times of slavery?
Because it's an outrageous claim, man. I'm having a hard time grasping this like weird diminishment of like how strong families are. I'm not even religious. I'm agnostic. Like but like I have a very strong family values, and it's very strong. And like that's what you look. Is this an objective fact that if you have both parents, you perform better? Like I don't understand. It's insane. It's like a gaslight.
Because what the right-wing audience wants to hear at CPAC is oh, the family unit in among black people is broken, and that's why it's their fault for their economic condition.
Exactly.
That part might be true, right? Like that part, I can agree with the fact that conservatives are very like it's your fault if you if you don't have a strong family, or it's like, you know, it's your fault if you're a failure. And I think that takes away from the environment people grow up in, that could have a profoundly negative impact on people's like development, or you know, in general, or their ability to accumulate wealth. I understand that, but like what the problem here is that Ben Carson literally kind of rejects that when he says that welfare plays a factor in destroying families. He's saying it's not your fault. He's saying it's welfare's fault. So your argument doesn't even make sense in this area.
Exactly.
And so that's the Fox News talking point about where are the dads? It's black people's fault. So if you
even
want
Vin Diesel knows that you need family.
someone to dance for you, you invite Ben Carson on because he'll do anything for money. So he'll tell you it's now black people's fault for their current condition. It is definitely not white people's fault.
He just said that it was welfare's fault. I don't understand. Like, you're not even making sense. This video is only 10 minutes long, and you guys have somehow you watched like a 30-second clip of Ben Carson, and you somehow didn't absorb anything that he was saying. You're dumb. Both of you are very stupid people. You guys are really dumb. You've heard some of the dumbest people I've ever seen in my entire life. You guys are fucking really stupid.
Right-wingers' fault, and he'll even tell you that for the hundreds of years that they snatched little babies from the arms of their mothers and fathers, that was when black people had strong family units, and that we ruined that with the government intervention. That's who Ben Carson is.
Sounds about right. I mean, I don't know how it's so crazy to consider that the government would systematically fuck black people in the ass. Like, it's just such a, like, I don't know how, like, this is that it's a really weird thing to support systemic race, like to support the existence of systemic racism and to acknowledge its existence, and then to turn a blind eye to a form of systemic oppression.
By the way, the very similar talking points have been regurgitated by Tucker Carlson.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more.
Wow, this guy's shilling out hard, bro. I thought this guy was all about the people, dude. Give me your money as much as possible.